In today's episode, we'll be having a closer look at the new coronavirus, its transmission, and whether warm weather is likely to curb its spread in any significant way. 1 in 3 people in the world right now are currently living under lockdown. That's roughly 2.6 billion people. These lockdowns are often necessary to prevent our healthcare systems from being overwhelmed, and are thus very important to protecting our lives and the lives of our loved ones. If you've been following the news, however, you would definitely be under the impression that this crisis isn't going away anytime soon. Every day there are more cases confirmed and more deaths. So, is there an end in sight to this crisis? Here's our take. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, recently spoke at one of his rallies, speculating that transmission of the new coronavirus will be curbed as we approach the summer and temperatures begin to rise.
The virus. They're working hard. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
This would make the COVID-19 outbreak a seasonal disease just like measles, the flu, and typhoid, where most cases occur every year in a narrow time frame. There is good reason to think of COVID-19 as a seasonal disease. We know that the worst outbreaks happened in areas with a cool and dry climate. Tropical regions, on the other hand, seem to be the least affected. So, why is that? We think this might be the case because the new coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, is an enveloped virus with an oily coat, known as a lipid bilayer. This lipid bilayer is particularly vulnerable to higher temperatures. For example, studies on the new coronavirus found that it survives for up to 72 hours on hard surfaces like plastic and stainless steel at temperatures of 21 to 23 degrees centigrade. Studies on other coronaviruses with a similar lipid bilayer show that they can survive on surfaces for more than 28 days when the temperatures are decreased to 4 degrees centigrade. This seems to support the idea that warm weather could really curb the transmission of COVID-19. And scientists from Chinese universities Beihang and Tsinghua studied the patterns of transmission of the new coronavirus in 100 Chinese cities. Their conclusion was that high temperatures and high relative humidity significantly reduce transmission of SARS-CoV-2, the virus responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, a study conducted 10 years ago at the University of Edinburgh had similar findings to the Chinese researchers. 3 coronaviruses were all shown to have marked winter seasonality, causing infections primarily between December and April. It's also important to note that vitamin D and melatonin have been shown to play a protective role against infectious disease. During the winter months, when there is typically less sunlight, we may be more vulnerable to infections due to reduced vitamin D metabolism. You should hang on a minute before you start celebrating the good news. As researchers at Harvard Medical School who studied the spread of COVID-19 found it to be less sensitive to weather patterns than had been previously speculated. This may be because new viruses often spread differently among populations than viruses that have been present in populations for relatively long periods of time. New viruses show significantly less seasonality as few or no individuals in a population have any immunity to them. In conclusion, warmer weather will likely lead to only a modest reduction in transmission that will not contain the spread of disease alone. We are also likely to see a second peak of cases around the winter of 2020-2021 when temperatures begin to cool down and lockdown measures are likely to be relaxed. According to some predictions, life should only return back to normal after 12 months. Until then, well, of course. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a heads up. If you really loved it, then you can subscribe to our channel for more great content each and every week. You can also contact us on our social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. We're more than happy to hear what you guys thought of our video.